Right. So what I have discussed in the earlier one about the configuration in reference to the issues, what is that we have taken, right? So here this configuration and all everything I have discussed already. Now what is that I am going to do? I am going to explain you about the roadmap configuration, how to do configuration of the roadmap. Here there is a roadmap wherein if you want to configure a roadmap, here you can see there is an option where you can configure the roadmap here. So where in general roadmap settings doesn't require to change anything, but whereas as far as the column itself is concerned, you can change it. For example, this column we are changing it as analysis. Second is P&D, okay. Followed by this implementation is what I'm adding. Next followed by this testing and testing. Okay, that's what I'm adding to that, right? Testing will be added here. At the same time, apart from testing, we can add even uh, testing and deployment and delivery. Deployment and delivery, right? So this is what generally we do. Deployment and delivery is what generally it was. So you can add as many columns as you want, whatever the columns you required in reference to the existing ones and all everything in these columns that can be added. Either it could be an implementation, analysis, planning, design, implementation, testing, deployment, delivery, right? So all these things can be done in reference to the configuration of the board. Whatever the board are we going to create, in reference to the configuration of the board, if you want to make any kind of works, all that stuff. So you can see here, right? Analysis, planning, design, implementation, testing, deployment, done, right? So all these we have done. So this is how generally this configuration of the roadmap is being used in reference to the columns I am talking about. After columns, normally, for example, swim lanes. Swim lanes are the one which wherein you need to understand. Because if you want to create any kind of swim lanes and all, if any, on what basis are you going to create? Is that you are going to create based on the user stories or assignees or epics, all that. Now, swim lanes, if there is anything, it is obviously based on the stories only, right? Hence, I am keeping this as separate. Next, when you talk about the filters and all that, here you can add the filters. For example, resolution is what I was taken, right? So wherein we need to understand what is that we have to do. For example, in reference to the resolution part itself is concerned, where we have to see, right? So what is that we have taken here, and why is this are we using, and for what purposes are we using, and all everything that we have to understand here, right? So in reference to the comments itself are concerned, so comment equal to you, for example, right? So here is the description we are writing, right? So uh, description of comment will be named after you, right? So this is what generally which normally were added here, right? So this is how generally these resolutions and all everything can be added, right? So this is how generally this can be used for. And what is that are we going to use, and how are we using, and all everything will be of different. Okay, this is what I have added here, right? So this is what we have added. Maybe color. mentioning you. Right, so epic color can be added in reference to the resolution. For example, in reference to all issues, let's say, for example, when we are taking an epic name, okay. So epic name equal to number, okay. That's what, it's what I have taken, right? So wherein this also can be added, right? Epic name equal to as a number is what we have added here. This is what generally the issue one has to be done. Now, when you want to know about creation part, right? So if there is any kind of creation to be made in reference to the understanding itself is concerned, right? Creating an assignee where you need to equal to, right? So equal to, right? So for example, is this. Now, this is how generally this quick filters and all everything can be added to the existing quick filters all that. At the same time, when you want to, these are the filters because these filters that we are adding wherein so that it is easy for the people to understand it. This is how generally these filters and all everything should be added to that. Now, when in reference to the card colors itself is concerned, if you want to see any kind of colors in reference to, for example, if it is a priority and all, wherein priority will be high in number, right? So this is how generally this priority card colors and all everything can be used for. At the same time, card layouts, if you want to add any kind of card layouts and all, this can be done. Now, for example, if you want to identify the user stories based on the estimation, it will ask you, is it based upon the tasks, what is that we are creating, issues count, or is it based on the story points? Normally, story points is what the estimation we are taking, because in the beginning, you see, generally we have given. Now, time tracking here, there is nothing called issues will be burned on their user stories value upon the location or upon the completion. That this is what the none spells. Now, when I'm mentioning about remaining estimated time, the remaining estimated time in reference to the tasks, what is that we have taken will be mentioned. So time tracking none, which I was mentioning here. Normally working days will be from Monday to Friday because this is standard, right? There will be no changes. Now, if you want to add any kind of categories like status, priority, components and all, if you want to add anything, for example, change risk, if you want to add, you can add the change risk here. At the same time, for example, epic status, if you want, you can add the epic status. At the same time, if you want to see the, right, for example, no environment, but for example, resolution, right? So resolution and all these resolutions can also be added, right? So this is how generally this configuration board can be done. Now, whether you want to enable that roadmap, disable of the roadmap, you have to see. Normally, roadmap was enabled here. So it is as simple, right? So we have to enable. So this is how generally the configuration of the roadmap, which we have to do. So in this configuration of the roadmap, what is that we require, when that is needed, and what aspects to be taken into an account, everything will be decided in reference to the roadmap, what is that we have created here so far. So this is how generally in reference to the roadmap, whatever the configuration of the roadmap and all everything is required, this is how generally this roadmap creations and all everything will be used. Okay, so next topic will be discussed in the next video. Thank you.